like to really just like feel it, and we're working on that. But it's just, oh, it's like my favorite thing. So anyways, Greg, all that to say, I'm happy to like show you how I use Edvo and set things up. And then we can even do like one-on-one sessions to kind of figure out what works for your personal setup.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to, steal away from the session or anything. So
Nah, dude,
No,
this is
these
what
are
we live
office
for.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your time.
I do like, I saw some of the previews of things that are being talked about rolling into and on the roadmap, which look incredibly helpful when they come to be as well. So
Is there anything
Totally.
specific that like really spoke to you?
off the top of my head, I'd have to go back and try and find where I put my notes. I could do with an app to help me. Right? But like the launch pad, my space or my world or I
My
forget.
My
universe, yeah.
universe.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that.
Because I think,
Yeah.
if I use like an example of AI, I might want like a master category of AI, but then I might want AI art generators, and I may want AI chatbots, and I may want AI something else, but there would be some crossover, right, with tags and categories, but you know, that kind of, structuring.
Yeah. And just for context, last week during office hours, what we went over were just like the things that were in progress, that we were working on, a lot of quality of life, just being able to bring things into my universe a lot quicker. And then being able to categorize them, put them into whatever thinking buckets you use a lot easier. And then we also kind of touched on how do we make it easier to find things that are related. So either by like filtering via tags or searching via tags. And then the possibility of being able to summarize, get like a quick summary of things in my space. But we also talked about the potential of task management within Edvo. So if I have checkboxes within different notes and different spaces, is there one space that I can go to where I can see all of those different action items that I put for myself? So just a quick little summary for everyone on what we talked about last week.
I had shared on a previous session a link to the gentleman's deceased now, but he had a living book and it was in Obsidian, and you could drive it, with menus and contextual links and everything. But up in the top right, there was also, if you will, a mind map, and it showed how those things were tied in together and related, and you could navigate with that if you wanted to as well. I thought that was kind of neat.
Mhm. Yeah, so really cool. I'm excited for like the first iteration of my universe to make it out to y'all. Our goal is by next Friday. Um, but it's at least a starting point for us to just have something to feel out and be able to kind of just like brainstorm, oh, like I wish I could use this in this way. Um, I think Greg, as you mentioned, it would be really cool for, let's start with like Shreen, sharing a few of your workflows. And then
Yeah.
after that, I can share a few more updates that we have that we've been working on and have in the works for y'all. And then, yeah, then we'll just open it up for whatever conversations or threads we decide to pull on.
Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so notice I'm
Mm-hmm.
officially in tab hell, which like is rare for me. But I will kind of walk you through something that I'm doing right now. So this is that Airtable of the 200 plus social spaces that have been curated. I was just talking about. Robert, by the way, I know you're going to love this. This is a community called New Space. They're on a pursuit to understand like what are all the new digital spaces people are tinkering with and what do they service. And so they've created this like massive database of just all potential initiatives that the community has found. Anyway, so all I care about is going through this list and trying to identify the ones that I really vibe with or are related to Edvo, and like also people that might be in SF specifically that are thinking about this stuff, because obviously I want to go hang out with them because I'm an SF. But it's really hard for me to kind of get any meaningful information from this view, right? So what I've done is I literally I'm going one by one and opening each of these websites. So that's why now I'm in tab help. And then I go to the website itself and I just like quickly like screen through the web page to understand like what it is. And if I don't vibe with it, I just like close the tab. But if I do vibe with it, I'll use the Edvo extension and I'll just like tag it to my digital spaces. Something I really like, a change we made probably like a couple months ago, is now like your recent spaces automatically drop down, which is really nice. But then I'll like tag it to digital spaces. It'll save. This takes a bit too long from my, like in my perspective. I wish it was like way faster, but regardless, now the change has been saved, and then I'll close it. And so I'm literally just going through that workflow. I'm not even like working really in Edvo right now. I'm just trying to make sure that anything that's relevant is saved into my database so that I can find it later and I'm not like worried about it. Now, the cool part is when I go, so now this is my universe. Now I'm in Edvo, right? So once I'm at the part of my workflow where I actually want to look at, okay, of the 200 things I went through, which ones were actually relevant, this is the space that this is like my digital spaces like portal. And so you'll see like one of the, I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see. So like this is the front one, right? This is the one I just used the extension to save and it got auto populated here. I just brought this space into my universe. I'm still going to try to figure out like what I want in my universe and how I want to kind of visualize things here. But this is a space that I'm going to hop into really quick. And you'll notice that Airtable is still here. So I never have to like worry about losing the Airtable. That's kind of like the master database, right, that I'm pulling from. And then all the things that are actually important to me, they're all saved in here. My next step, for example, with Hyperlink Academy, you guys will see there's already like little tags on the bottom. The reason why those tags are there is because when I'm going to open this up in a new tab to like walk you guys through the workflow. When I was first in here, I did the whole thing, right? I like went down this like initial landing page. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this looks very relevant, right? They're literally talking about the same types of topics that Edvo is talking about. And then immediately I was like, oh shit, like who are these people that are working on Hyperlink? So the first thing I did was first just like save Hyperlink to Edvo. Again, the extension shows me it's already saved in digital spaces. Great, anxiety gone on like losing this. The second thing I did is I like usually just try to find, sorry, my Zoom interface is in the way. I usually just try to find like some information on who the founders are. So immediately I saw this on their landing page and I just clicked on each of these links. And then I'm like, okay, so this is Jared. And all I'm trying to identify is like, where does Jared actually live and who is Jared? So then I found his Twitter. And so notice I'm kind of just like going through links. And then I would see that, okay, he's based in Brooklyn. So if I click on this extension, oh, interesting. Okay, let me see. What I wanted to show you guys is I had actually saved this Twitter to, I had linked it or I had tagged it to the Hyperlink Academy, which is why you see down here, and maybe, oh, because I linked Jared's actual website. So down here, when I just clicked into the founders, I found Jared, I found Celine, and I found Brendan. I just went and linked each of those people to Hyperlink. And so whenever I'm like revisiting Hyperlink Academy, let's say like 2 months from now, right? I'm trying to pull up the context. I can see that not only did I save the Academy itself, but immediately when I go into now this space, Dar, why can't I jump to this space?
There's a bug with content cards right now.
Okay, so I should, well, here, what I'll do instead then is I'm going to change this appearance to portal. And you guys can see there's some portal rendering bug here, or there's an overlap here actually. You guys can see within the Hyperlink Academy space, now I have the context on each of those founders. So the workflow for me is very much just like finding something that's relevant, and then I'm going down a rabbit hole and trying to identify who are the people working on this, what does the community look like, and I just want to be very quickly be able to kind of create my like universe of the Hyperlink Academy and make sure that all those connections are kind of just like in its, in its context isn't the right word. It's just like the universe is being adequately like created in my like knowledge base. And so this is kind of where I'm at in the workflow. Um, Ideally what this space looks like, guys, like when I shared with you what's going to make me really proud, number one is there's no bugs and performance issues, but number two, what I really want to be able to do is send it to like Robert or send it to Greg or send it to any of you and say, for you guys to be able to enter this space and very quickly be able to see that, okay, this is that main database that Shereen was using, and then here are spaces. Essentially, this is like the Hubzilla universe, and this is the Idle universe, and this is the Hyperlink universe. And you guys can go down and quickly get oriented around the ones that I found to be most relevant to share, right? And you can kind of go through your own like experience. Ideally, you're able to have conversations. Like you should be able to immediately like look at the Hyperlink Academy, and if you have thoughts on like, oh my God, this reminds me of this other company, and it's not even in this database, but you guys have it in your own Edvo database, you can just like add those things here. And now we're having this like beautiful kind of union on your context and my context. So for me, the ideal would be like each of these is really a portal, and each of those portals has not only this like top line, landing page kind of there, but also all of the related thoughts. And then when you guys jump in, honestly, my confidence only increases when the people I share it with can experience what I'm trying to share in the most productive way, right? Because if you come into this and it crashes or like it doesn't make sense to you, we're not going to have a great collaboration. So that is, I'm like using this as like a dog fooding opportunity to just see like, what do I actually need to be able to share this with you guys? And then for you guys to jump in here, feel good about it, and us to have a meaningful conversation that's asynchronous. And I don't even need to be like here on Zoom trying to have this conversation. Greg, any thoughts on this like workflow use case? Yeah, what are you thinking?
I like it. So those tags that were on there, that you had added those tags yourself to the Link Academy. You had added those tags to that, right? That you were showing a minute ago.
Yeah, exactly. So again, you can add stuff to the spaces, like to your Edvo database in different ways, right? So I'm just using the extension. Anytime I'm like browsing the web and I find something that I don't want to lose, I just click on the extension and I tag it to the relevant space. In this case, it's going to digital spaces. Digital spaces, I know that's it's like literally, it's a little confusing. It's like an intentional topic that I've named, right? Like I'm creating my space on this topic of digital spaces that exist that I'm researching. So the point being is like I just kind of tag it to somewhere in my Edvo space. So that's one way of bringing things in. I could also just like copy this. So copy this URL and paste it. Let's see if it works unless we broke it. I'm also using our internal like nightly version. Nope, it showed up. It just showed up not in the right size, but there it is. So I just like pasted it in.
On the
Yeah.
bottom of those cards, though, you added those tags, right?
Say that again.
The tags that are on the bottom of the cards, you added those tags, right?
I didn't actually, so it's interesting. All I did is each of these web pages, I did the same workflow where I used the extension, but instead of saving them to digital spaces, I saved it to the Hyperlink Academy specifically, because in my head, I was like, I already went to the Hyperlink Academy landing page. Then I clicked on a link to the founder who, of the Hyperlink Academy. So I wanted to tag that founder's website to Hyperlink Academy. When I did that, the tag automatically appeared. So these tags them are just showing me kind of references to what is everything that's in this larger Hyperlink Academy space. So again, if I were to appearance this normal, right, all I see is just like Hyperlink Academy. I have no way of knowing, well, what are the other things that are related to this specific topic? So these tags automatically appear when you add other things to that space.
Awesome.
Yeah, like if I go back to, let's say, my universe, if you look at digital spaces, you'll see all these tags on the bottom. Let me again move it to a normal. So you'll see, right? Airtable, Hubzilla, Hyperlink, Frond, Untitled, Idle. Those are not things I'm adding manually. Like those tags are not things I'm adding manually. As soon as I add, actually, let me just show you. So I'm gonna tag this thing, free cycle, okay, to digital spaces. All right. And what's gonna happen is you're gonna notice a new tag appear. Where is it? Free cycle. You see that, Greg? It appeared on the bottom. Yeah.
Oh,
So it's like
lovely.
that tag. Yeah. And it's the same thing. It's like I just tagged it. And not only did the tag appear on the bottom, but now let me just change it to portal. That free cycle page also appeared here, right? So
Right.
there's a visual representation, and then there's kind of like the tag representation. And I could even, like, I could go, I just want to talk about appearance really quick because I'm like switching between it really fast. Right now, and I don't love the implementation on it on this, but the utility is obviously good. The appearance of anything, it could be a portal. So I'm currently in portal view. Portal just means show me all, like literally show me the space without me having to like leave the larger space I'm in. So that's a portal. I could also see this in list view if it works. Okay, I'm gonna
List
refresh.
view crashes nightly, so it won't work.
Okay,
Yeah, we're working on that.
okay, so that's a bug, but let me, here, I'm just gonna move to prod really quick. So list view is essentially those tags that are on the bottom. Now it's in a list, right? And so now I know like, okay, this is a list view of everything in this space. I could do something like drag Hyperlink Academy and move it out here, right? And so it's now like, and there's a bug there with prod, so I'm gonna switch back to Nightly. But list view is just like an easier way of me seeing all the things in my space and then like moving them to other places if I wish.
All right, this might sound like a really stupid question. If we're in that window that you were in, the digital spaces, if you wanted to break that into two, like say it was AI and I wanted to do art and chatbot, is that possible to have two cards in the same card kind of thing, or no?
Say it again.
Like say it was AI, but I wanted AI art and AI chatbot. Like, can you break a card into two, or would it just be each card is its own card, or can you kind of split it into two, as it were?
Yeah.
Silly question, I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good question. You're talking about like how do you create subcategories? Is that right? Yeah. So let's say you've got a card. So there's many, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you have a space that you created called AI, and then you went, you know, on an adventure across the web, and then you created this like you found a bunch of stuff related to AI, and let's say you created this list of like 7 things, and then you realized, okay, you know what? 3 of these things are AI bots, and 4 of these things are AI chats. There's a few things you could do. You could either just start tagging them. So I could take Hyperlink Academy and I could say AI chat, right? And just like create that topic and then choose to just like label these 3 things AI chat. And then the other 4 things I could say, I don't know, AI research, like whatever. Um, and do it that way. The reason, so what this will do is now if I go to AI chat, those 3 specific things are going to be here. Star, why are we having rendering issues here? What's going on? Hold on.
It's a known
Let me go.
bug that we're also working on. because
Cool.
Nightly's backend is updated, so the extension doesn't work. The new extension doesn't work with prod.
Cool. So I just created this subcategory, Greg, of AI chat, right? And I could have this, yeah. So I just created the subcategory of AI chat. Now these things are still in digital spaces as well, kind of that like large, or let me rephrase. If it was in the large AI space, they're not leaving that large AI space. I can still find these things in the larger AI space. But now I've also created this subcategory called AI chat, and now it's like become its own bucket. So that's like one way of doing things is you can just like create more tags and whatnot. Another way of doing it, let me go back to my universe. I could actually just like create, let's see, do we have multi-select on list view yet, guys?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
No.
so another way I would do it is I've got, um, why does it keep taking me to pod? Hold on. So let's say, Greg, you're in this larger AI space and you're like, okay, now I've got all these resources in here. I don't want to individually tag these things. I just want to really quickly create clusters. So then what I would do is I would like multi-select these three things. And I can either like visually just like cluster them together. And there's something cool we're working on where it's like, as soon as you start visually clustering things, we can make a recommendation of like, hey, do you want to turn these things into their own card, into their own space? That's something we are just talking about as a team. But for now, I can actually just like use this radio bar or a shortcut P and create this portal and then multi-select, drag these things in there. So now, right, I'm going to have another portal here and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to multi-select these two things in here. So in my larger AI space, and this is my preferred route. Like I use portals like a crazy person. Rashid knows this. um, and for me, this is my favorite part because it's like creating buckets for myself, right? So I'll just be like, okay, create these two portals, drop them in there, and then I can name that portal whatever I want, AI chat, right? Whatever. And then it's like my visual metaphor of this is my larger space, and I've got these sub buckets. And the beauty is when I create these sub buckets, they're automatically tagged to digital spaces. So I'll always be able to like find them by just going to digital spaces. I'll always be able to find these buckets. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
And this is so much easier than
Yeah.
a list.
And the list?
Yeah, just
Wait,
visually
Alex,
create. Yeah, I'm saying that like
yeah, yeah,
creating a couple of portals within the topic and then moving
yeah.
things, into the portals is so much easier than a list.
So much easier. I mean, to be fair, we have an optimized list, but I will say, guys, it depends on where you are in your workflow, right? So, like, as a power user of Edvo, for me, it's just like sometimes I'm just at a point where I'm looking at, like, I need a list view of, like, for example, let me just show you guys something insane, okay? And this is, by the way, two birds with one stone. Greg, I'm going to show you another use case. I'm a health junkie. But in the last like 24 months, I've just completely like radically transformed my own health. Part of that meant also being really hyper aware where is like all the information I need on my health. Do I actually know where it is? Most people, I know you guys can relate, like your doctor uses some portal where your test results and everything gets uploaded to. Half the time, you don't even know what the portal link is. Half the time, you don't remember your credentials. And half the time, you go in there and you see test results, but like all the research you did on what those test results actually mean is like somewhere in your Notion or somewhere in your Notes app or like wherever, right? So what I did is I created my own health and wellness space. I'm going to jump into that space and you guys will just see the amount of stuff that I have like kind of worked or taught across and curated. And for me, Edvo is like where all that stuff can live and I can find. Um, I'm trying to see if something's crashing nightly. Probably a list view in here somewhere is crashing
It's
it.
the
So I'm gonna
list.
go back.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
there
because I have a
are
lot of
two
list
lists on the
views.
left.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to show you guys. But let me just let it load up really quick. This is the other thing, Dar, that's been happening. Like it wasn't happening before. Is this stuff used to load up like this for me because I like live in the space, and just in the last like couple days, I'm noticing it's not. But I think that's the known bug you were talking about with rendering. Um, Actually, no, it's not a rendering
I
bug.
know
There's just
we haven't pushed
something
any
happening.
new stuff
Anyways, point
to
being,
prod
so
though,
really
so we'll
quickly,
figure it out.
Greg, use case wise, and then we'll talk about the list view. So in use case, every health result that, so this is the portal. Okay, this is where my doctor just like uploads a bunch of stuff. Um, and usually I don't remember the link to that portal. Also, my doctor like has changed portals 3 times now. So I never know what the right link is. So the first thing I've done is just like, it's in here. This is the URL. And now I can like sign in and do everything from here. I don't have to remember, oh yeah, what's the accurate link to the portal. The second thing is every time my doctor uploads health results, they get uploaded to the portal, but then she actually sends me like the she actually sends me like a PDF in an email. And then if they're just stuck in my email, I'm looking for them forever when I need to find them. Here, what I've done is every time my husband and I have more health results, I just drag that PDF into my health and wellness space. This, by the way, is like what I believe is the differentiator for Edvo. One of the differentiators is I'm not my software doesn't discriminate what type of like files or like what type of context I can bring in. So we've kind of optimized it so if your content lives across web pages, across PDFs, it's in a video format, it's an image, it's just notes, it's stickies. At least the most popular way people like gather context, we want those to be able to coexist in Edvo space. So before we didn't have PDFs, for example, and so many of like as an investor, I get pitch decks that are in PDF format all the time. I wanted to make sure that I could like have those as part of my context. So here there's these PDFs, and anytime I need to like, if my husband's like, hey Shireen, where's the latest like set of results that we did? I literally go to Feb 2023. This is something I manually created. I'm like manually organizing these with stickies and whatnot. But all I know is like, okay, Feb 2023, these are all the different results here that are relevant. I'll find the one I want. He's looking for his blood results. Great. This is the March 2023, blood results, and here they are. And I can just go ahead and like download those. There's that download button. It'll download onto my computer and I can share it off. Or better yet, I actually just share this space, with my husband, and then he can just come in here instead of bothering me. And he can be like, oh yeah, those are the results. I'll download them. I'm done. Right. So asynchronous, like, I mean, it's like file sharing, literally. Except I don't like he can see everything visually, and it's not just restricted to PDFs. It also includes all this other stuff. So for example, here, Raid is constantly like, Raid's my husband. He's constantly like sending me links of like products he wants to try. And I got so annoyed primarily because he would send me like 10 links. And then I'm like, building a company. I don't have time to like go through those links and like order everything. So I was like, hey dude, why don't you create an Edvo space on the products you want to try? And then every time I'm actually thinking about our health and wellness, I can go into that space and have this like serendipitous trigger of, oh yeah, Ride wanted to try AG1. Boom, I can click get your AG1, try AG1 now, and literally order the pack and then leave, and like not worry about it again. So this is like, again, just when you start, once you're able to create these like meaningful spaces for yourself and then start bringing other people in, there are opportunities to just like collaborate across different contexts. And we're trying to make this easier, like to learn, but this is just like one way of how I keep all my like health stuff in one place. Last thing I want to show you is my parents needed help with their health insurance. So again, I just like quickly, I'm gonna create a portal here. I quickly created this space. And this space literally has like all these focus mode into this. Oh, focus mode on portals doesn't work. Okay. I'm gonna jump into it real quick. So my parents they wanted to just like kind of compare their different health insurance. By the way, open enrollment is starting, so you guys might be going through this workflow very soon. So they had like all these different health insurance options. So I brought all them into one space, and then I activated, let me show you guys. This is like a feature that's currently hidden, but I activated tile mode, which lets me kind of look at these two PDFs side by side. I love Greg's like facial expressions as I'm doing this. It's so fun. But I just like looked at these side by side. And by the way, I don't even have to do, I can do 3 of them side by side. And kind of the algorithm's a little weird on like what sizing it takes. We're working on this. But I remember like a year ago when I was doing this and I was like, oh my God, thank God I have Edvo. I don't have to like finesse with different like screen sizes on my actual desktop. I just brought them on here, saw it side by side, made a decision, told my parents that decision, and then just tagged it to my health and wellness space so that if this year they're like, oh, you know, we need to do these comparisons again, I can just go back to that last space and say, oh, did I already compare them? Yeah, I probably already did. Nothing has changed, or maybe something's changed, but all that context is there. And then I just saved it to like, I just literally put a sticky called parents, put that space there, and then that's it, right? So I'll pause here. This is me specifically showing like the use case for like my personal life management. And the next thing I want to show you after I get your thoughts, Greg, and anyone else's, is also the list view. Like when you have so much stuff here, why is list view actually helpful? But I'll pause. Greg, any feelings, or anyone else any feelings?
Wow. Absolutely blooming well awesome. I like it a lot. I have a little question. When you said you would to share it, if someone doesn't have Edvo, is there a way you can share it and they can see it, or is it that they would need Edvo? And not that I would ever need that. I'm just curious.
Yeah, here, I'll show you. Let's see if it'll work. Cool. Okay. So I just went incognito. And so incognito is like, I don't have an Edvo account, right? So I'm just a person that got this link shared with them. Like literally the URL was texted to me and I went on the URL. Without an Edvo account, this is what I would see. So what's happening here? Without an Edvo account, and this is like, me, I've chosen to share this out. So without an Edvo account, I would see everything except certain iframes. Why is that? If I'm not an Edvo user, I probably don't have the Edvo Chrome extension installed on my device, right? And so if I don't have the extension, then iframes are a little, I mean, even with the extension, honestly, they're a little pesky. There's stuff that we're doing. But at the very least, anything that's not an iframe, I still have access to. So I can see all these PDFs. Again, someone has chosen to share this information with me, but I can see these PDFs. I can see all these other spaces. I can see the tags in all these spaces. It's interesting that, like, for example, these are indeed iframes, and somehow without the extension, they're still showing up. I'm still having that experience. But for example, these iframes aren't showing up. They require the Chrome extension. So there is a slightly what's it called, compromised experience for me. Now, something that's happening up here is start creating your own Edvo spaces. I, as a visitor, can get early access and then immediately like create an account. We actually haven't optimized this workflow, but I should be able to create automatically, like get an account, get the extension, and then have the full experience here, right? It shouldn't be hard for people to like make their experience better. But at the very least, without an Edvo account, I can even do things like add my own thoughts in here. So I can add stickies. Hi. And let me just show you. Look, that hi showed up, right? So this is now Shireen looking at her account, seeing that, oh, this random human, which by the way, I can also, let me just get out of here. So see these avatars, Greg? It says Shireen, and then it says creepy blush. So this anonymous person that is viewing my space is creepy blush. And I can show, this is actually really fun if I like show it to you guys as a split screen. Okay, so on the right-hand side is Shireen. On the left-hand side is this like anonymous human. And you guys I'm trying to show you guys the two avatars at the same time. So like on the left-hand side, the anonymous human can see Shireen's avatar. You see that? Right? Like Shireen's avatar is like growing around. Yeah. So even though I don't have an account, I can still see that, hey, Shireen, my friend who sent the space to me, is in the space actively collaborating. And let me just leave a sticky here. Hi, creepy blush. Right. So Shireen just said that, and creepy blush on their side saw that. And it's pretty, it's like pretty instantaneous. And then I'm just going to remove this from space, and it's going to remove it from there. So all that to say, one thing that we really, really care about is obviously when you give people the opportunity to have all this context in one space, they're going to want to share it with other people. And they should be able to share it with other people and immediately start collaborating without there being a restriction that that other person needs to have an account. So we've kind of figured out like the bare minimum someone needs to be able to do without having an account. And then that person who doesn't have an account is like, wait, I don't want to lose all this thinking I just did with this person. All that stuff is in their database, but I want it to be in my database too. I want to be able to go find all this stuff. Then they have that incentive to be like, oh, I'm just going to create my own Edvo account, even if it's literally to just come back to this space, which is beautiful. So that's kind of how collaboration is working right now. Still a lot to optimize.
That's amazing. They can't delete your stuff though, right?
No.
Wow.
I mean, wait, actually, you know what? That's a great question. So I have given this person, if I have given only read-only access, then absolutely not. They won't delete my stuff. If I've given them editable access, they actually can. And that
That's
is
up
like
to
not
you. When
that,
you share the link, you would decide what permissions that you.
exactly. So here, let me show you how that works. No, wait. All right. So in here, see this like share button? So right now it's general access, anyone with the link. I'm going to go ahead and restrict it,
Just
which
like
means no
sharing a
one should.
document, right?
Exactly right. And if I don't want it to be like just like published to the web, I can actually say, you know what, I specifically want this only shared with my friend Darlene. And I can either input her whole email address if she doesn't already have an account, and it will send them an invite to their email. So again, even if they don't have an account in Edvo, you don't have to like send them a link. You can literally just add their email in. They'll say, hey, Greg has invited you to this space, and just go visit it. And from their email, they can come and visit your space. And also, it's only going to be available to them. And when you do that, you can say can view or can edit before you send it. So all of that is configurable.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. All right. So now let me show you guys like list view. So going back to like Alex's point, and yeah, portals are like night and day easier. But here is, hold on, let me like get out of this stuff. So I'm moving to SF, and one of the things that I really, really care about is making sure, like in Miami, guys, I have an incredible infrastructure for my health. I've got my fitness trainer, my nutrition's on point, like everything's there, right? Now I'm moving to SF, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what gym to go to. And so one thing that we were kind of like, I created a space on moving priorities. And I started just literally like my husband and I like created a whole list of like all the things we care about related to our health, that we need to like act on. Anyways, so obviously I was like, wait, let me go into my health and wellness space and just like see a list of all the things that are in here already that might match this like list I'm just like brainstorming, right? And that can kind of like take things off this list if they're already taken care of. Now, the shitty thing, Alex, about list view is like all I can see is like a list of things, but I can't filter, right? I can move stuff. So for example, right, was like, yo, dude, can you just like show me our last what he asked me, like, can you get me my last like oh, we were talking about being data driven about our health, and we were like, hey, when was the last time we did a biomarker like inflammation test? That's something about this conversation we're having. So I pull this in and I was like, okay, where's my inflammation test? Now unfortunately, because I can't search this long ass list, I can't really find it. So I have to like go through and specifically look for something that's related to that. So here's like that toxins hand scan, for example, that's related. Now I can like bring that out in here. So the point I'm trying to make, dude, is like if I saw this in a portal view, is it as if my portal was not as organized as it is visually, it would be harder for me to find it versus if I had a searchable list, I could just search for like toxins or biomarker, immediately find that thing and like drag it in. So that's where like it just kind of depends on where you are in the workflow. Sometimes I just, especially when my portal has a lot of stuff, and especially when that portal is not organized, I want to just be able to quickly like look through all the things in the space, find what I need, and then take the action. Sometimes that action, by the way, is like, I just want to download it right off the bat. I don't want to move it anywhere. Sometimes I just want to open it right off the bat, right? So I think we still kind of got to figure that stuff out. But the easiness of it just depends on what I'm actually trying to do. Is Alex still here? I can't even see his face.
No, he left a while ago.
Yeah, he hopped
You
off.
guys, why am I talking to like somebody that's not even here?
Hey, you're talking to me, Shereen.
I thought you were talking to us.
I kept saying Alex. Are you guys all Alex? I love it. All right. So anyways,
Could be.
that's the point, guys. That's the point. That's like, we're trying to just figure out, the point is like, there's two sides to this. This is why this challenge is like both the most fun thing to work on, but also like so stupidly hard. People want to do all sorts of things with their information, right? We all have different workflows. And then also when you allow people to like connect more dots, all of a sudden they have like more ideas and they find like more utility for it. And so they want to do even more things with it. And so on one hand, we're asking ourselves, all right, what are like the most important things people want to be able to do with their information? And how can we just get out of their way, right? How can we build software that just like lets them do those things with as few restrictions and constraints as possible? So that's kind of where we're currently at. But then on the second hand, it's also having this recognition as a company, as like a team of like, like literally our team is like 8 people. Like no matter how big we get, there's never going to be a point where we can build all the things. And so we also have to think about how do we help people have like something we think about as a team is like, okay, how can we maybe start engaging a community of developers, for example, that want to actively like build more use cases, more applications for people's data in this context, right? People's information, the knowledge they're actively creating, the notes that they're taking, all these connections they're actively making. What are all the different things other people will want to do? Can you create an ecosystem where people have the freedom, specifically developers have the freedom to like tinker and just like create novel use cases for this data? And then that ultimately gives people like, all of us an opportunity to say, oh, you know what? I actually want to like run these types of formulas on this data. I actually want to have these types of workflows on this data. And Edvo, the application, is great for, like spatial organization and for context management. But when it comes to actually like running queries and formulas, maybe Edvo won't prioritize that on their roadmap. But hey, they've enabled this like open ecosystem where those applications are available to me and I can still use my data in that way. So I'm kind of getting like, this is like, the next like 18 to 24 months type of vision. We want to start working towards it within the next 6. But to be fair, like everything we've kind of built on the back end, as far as our architecture is concerned, it's really focused on just first and foremost, how do you help people actually build a personal database that's meaningful enough for them to then ask for things like, yo, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I do that? And then we want to have a plan to be able to answer that question and say, hey, here are, you can either build it yourself and here's an opportunity for you to build it yourself. Or here we're actively like rallying an ecosystem of builders for these use cases and you can tap in without any like restrictions from us. This is your data, take it where you want to go. So there's that side of the conversation.
Does that mean this is going to be open source or just partially open or?
Yeah, there's like ladder, right? There's parts of this that are going to be open for the intention of again, how do you allow other people to build on top of this architecture, this data model that we're introducing, right? Or I mean, we're not the first ones to introduce it, but yeah, how do you help people engage in this ecosystem? And then parts of it are going to be closed, and that's going to be more specific to like Edvo the application. There's actually like the better answer is like we don't know yet. We don't know what configuration it's going to take. We just know our intention. And when we have more brain power to actually like commit meaningful time and resources towards identifying that design, which I anticipate is in the next like 6 to 8 months. It's honestly like we do our next round of funding to then be able to like meaningfully staff up the resources to fully concentrate on this part of the vision. That's when we're going to have more of those conversations.
Just wanted to ask, I'm getting an error saying uncaught security error on my extension whenever I click on it. Is that because I have an old version of the extension, or because I'm still able to log
It's
in, but not
likely.
with it?
Yeah. After this screen, we can check what version of the extension you have. Because sometimes Chrome gets like really weird about like updating it automatically. And then we'll just make sure you're on the most updated one.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Mhm.
There was one thing you showed that I had a question about earlier on when you were sort of creating portals and sorting links into portals. Is there a distinction between sort of tags and spaces that created because you just happened to tag a site that you were on versus something you manually create while you're on Edvo? And is that why sort of if you add a tag on Edvo, it should technically sort of add that tag when you visit that site again in the extension and that sort of thing?
I need help understanding your question again. Reword it.
Like you can add a tag onto any item that is just arbitrary string rather than a valid domain or URL or something, right? But if
Oh yeah.
it seemed like domains, or wait, maybe that's just the name of a space and I'm getting confused, but in some ways domains have, I guess I'm curious if domains have a special sort of like use or meaning, because it'd be neat to sort of be able to combine all the tags you've added to a broader domain, not just a specific sort of URL or something. Or the
Yeah. So
whole
I
domain.
think what you're
Yeah.
asking. Yeah.
Do you want me to tackle that, Shireen?
Go ahead.
So I think so it seems like you're asking if domains have a particular special treatment in Edvo. And what you're actually seeing here in this space in particular are, let's see, what is that, like 6 vertices. So these are 6 vertexes that have a relationship of member to the space called my universe. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with Edvo's graph database structure, but essentially everything is a vertex. Anything that you can see in Edvo and interact with is a vertex. So the My Universe space is a vertex. Each of those iframes is a vertex. That portal is a vertex. Now, the way we know how to render an iframe versus a portal is because the iframes have a property called body, and it has a content type of text URI. So whenever we try to render a text URI, we render an iframe. And a portal does not have any body because it's just a, I guess, sort of a frame around other vertexes. So it doesn't actually have any meaningful content itself. I think it just might have a name or something like that. You can still make relationships to it. You can tag it, and you can create members in it. And you can do the same thing for iframes as well. There's no fundamental difference other than we happen to be rendering this iframe as an iframe because it has a text URI property. Does that make sense?
I think so. So if I was just out on the web and I tagged some arbitrary website, it would be created as a single vertex, or there wouldn't. And would that be a space? And obviously, there's no portal implied by that. Or
Yeah. So every vertex can be rendered as a space. It might. We're kind of working on what we're calling content spaces. So if you go to the space that represents one of these iframes, you will see a very shoddy looking version of that iframe. That's something that we need to fix. But yeah, when you're browsing the web, you use the extension to save a page. It will create. It'll actually upsert a vertex. So it'll check if you already have that URL saved in your database. And if you don't, it'll create a new vertex for it. And if you do, then it'll just use that same vertex and add whatever tag you decided to add to it.
cool. And I guess you keep things like transclusions and accidental duplicates sort of straight in a way, or?
So we do have a concept of transclusion. You can duplicate a membership. It doesn't duplicate the vertex. So if I transcluded one of these iframes, I'll have two of those iframes side by side, but they're just two representations of the same vertex.
And is an iframe vertex to the same website that I visit? Like if I'm on that website, like
yes, so it'll have the text URI property containing the URL of that website.
Okay, so if there's like a URL match, any iframe that has that, it'll have the same tags that if I wound up on that page on the browser again, I could add it from either side and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
add tags from okay. Interesting, yeah.
And yeah, we're also trying to figure out, like, Robert, like when you revisit, I often, like my friends will share a link to something that I saved into my Edvo like months ago. And then today you'll see something like this. Like if I open this in a new tab, you'll see this ugly ass purple banner appear. It's gonna appear, I think.
Eventually.
Well, it should. Anyways, it like literally it's like this big, there's definitely there, man. I just exited it out somewhere else. Hold on. Well, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's an ugly ass banner that says, hey, this is already in your Edvo. So immediately, this has happened multiple times, like literally in the last week, where I arrive in things and I'm like, oh, cool. Like I was just here. Like I have this already in my Edvo. And then when I click on the extension, I really want to show you guys an example. Hold on. I'm going to find an example. One sec. Because it's worth showing. All right. So jump to topic, open page. All right, let's see if it'll happen. So there you go. Okay. So this shows me this page is already in your Edvo space, right? And then if I click on the extension, it'll also show me where it is in my Edvo space, if that renders. There's like performance issues I'm having here. But it should show me again.
It was an unnamed space. That's why it's blank.
Got it. Okay. So why is it oh, because I created okay. Hi. Now let's see if it updates. There it is. Beautiful. So it shows me that it's in that space. So that's context. But something I ask myself is like, hey, if I've come back to this space and let's say this is like connected to like 10 other things in my space, right? What is the value or like what is most valuable to me when I revisit something across the web that I already have like notes on, that I already have like other related context in? What do I want to see right now on this screen that can help me consume this piece of resource? Remember, months later, right? It can jog my memory quickly. It can give me more context. It can immediately make this a more meaningful experience. So that's something else that we're thinking about. Not right now, but like something we can kind of prioritize down the road of just like as people come back and revisit stuff, if there is ways to make that experience more meaningful to them, and surface more meaningful context, what could that experience look like, and where would that fit in the workflow? But for now, it just tells you it's already in your space. It like does that URL match. It tells you it's already in that space, and then it tells you what other spaces it's already in. If you now tag this to another space, it'll obviously be reflected immediately here as well. And then wherever, if this resource exists in 5 other places in your space, it'll be reflected everywhere else as well.
I have other questions, but I guess we're getting close to the hour. I don't know if I should open those up.
Do you want to write all those questions? Because I do want to know what they are.
Sure.
There are two. Yeah, Robert, ping us those questions in the Discord channel.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, guys. I hope, well, first of all, thank you for being here. And always good to have these conversations. And we're going to do this again next week. But in the meantime, yes, any questions, any thoughts, any help you need, like seriously, if you need literally like, yo, Dar, can you give me 30 minutes? I just need to get set up. Like, I don't know how to use Edvo for my specific workflows. This is the stuff we live for. So please, we'll schedule that time with you guys. We'll help you get it set up in a way that works for you. and yeah, a lot of fun stuff is definitely going to be pushed that we're currently working on in the next couple of weeks as well. So a lot of the bugs that you guys just saw that are happening, many of those will be squashed very, very soon. So just focused on giving you guys a more performance, high quality experience, while also making ourselves available to help you actually set this up for your unique workflows, because we know it's not easy yet. So please bug us. We're here.
Thank you very much, Shireen. Thank you.
All right, thanks guys. See y'all in Discord.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.
I